I wouldn't use it, but I'm not sure. Oh, that would help. It looks like it's on. Testing, testing.
This is the karaoke person.
Yeah, I'm gonna sing here pretty soon. No, I won't do that. Welcome everybody. We were thinking we wouldn't fill up all our chairs, but I think Dave and I guessed about right. But there's a few extras if we need it back there. So cheers. Welcome everybody. I heard on the radio, Dr. Fauci said the pandemic is over. So I'm like, okay, I think I believe him. But if you want to wear a mask, totally fine. We're all sort of in this in-between phase really of that. So welcome tonight. We're very proud of our little office here that Pete found for us. So Max is not here tonight. He's sick, but he's been working really hard to get all of the decorations. His dad had a lot of it from when he taught the civics class in Boyceville. And when I used to have a precinct or like a polling place up there. Everyone doesn't know me, I'm Elizabeth Witt. So if you see my name every now and then on some of the newsletters, so again, welcome. And I just want to I'll run through quickly, but at the very back, we have the agenda with a lot of the dates and things. So if you're like, I can't remember what she said, we'll print that off if there's not enough copies, okay? We're obviously, the big event coming up is May 2nd. Monday, we decided to merge with UW students. They wanted to do a forum for the third CD candidates. We were planning to do one on May 5th, and it just didn't make sense to have the candidates come 3 days apart, and just the students really want to do it. We wanted students to come here. They start finals on May 5th, so it just worked out better that we made it the 2nd. And so we would love for everybody, again, we're going to have an open house and we're having pie and we're going to walk over to Harvey Hall and the students are setting up the forum. So we're not really as involved. We're helping them, but they're running that as well. And Outreach has some questions that they forwarded. So we're, making a joint effort to attend that as well. So, and the students that are organized in are called the Stout Students Unite. Okay, so 5 to 6:30 here, 7 to 9 over there, and we'll just walk over to Harvey Hall. Okay, and then Max wanted to mention that we're doing a weekend of action. And that is something in May, and we're all going to just call our friends. It's going to be pretty easygoing, friendly. A short script to call and just remind people, vote for Evers and just, volunteer, get involved. But that we have a lot going on. Obviously, we have a lot of nomination papers. I'll mention that soon. And I'll sit back there just to kind of watch the signatures and sign for them because we need to do that. Our next meeting next month is May 25th. And we're still working through the U.S. Senate candidates. So we have a few more to come. And we actually have one candidate who was Dr. Patino was running for the U.S. Senate, but now she is switching over to the state treasurer, and she'll talk for a few minutes later, but we're going to have our other guest speakers first. And you'll hear highlights, updates of the big fundraiser almost a month from now on June 4th. And Ken will give us the update on that. And then Kay will give us the updates for the outreach committee. And they're going to work on having cafe crawls in some of the rural communities. And then, of course, the Dunn County Fair is the biggest thing that we're looking forward to. And Dave, we might need another chair in back there, a couple more. That's okay. Yeah. And welcome. And so all of us are going to work really hard in general to get things organized for the August 9th primary. So we'll talk more about that. My biggest thing tonight, and I'll hurry up here, but this young lady, we did our third CD convention last Saturday via Zoom, and there's a few copies of the resolutions and the minutes from that Margaret Bryce did. So yeah, so if you would like, and there's a copy of the treasurer's report, so if you need a copy to take, that's fine. But there might just be one or two back there, so let me know. But this Alexia Sabor, I met her. She just signed up to run for Secretary of State. Doug LaFollette has been there for a long time, like 41 years. So he is also running again, but she is also new, and a lot of information here if you're interested to look at her papers, okay? And that's how some people think, but yeah, he also has done a good job. But I think they're just, people are a little concerned that, as we all know about the elections security. So I just wanted to show you, there's a couple, Governor Evers and Josh Call is running unopposed. So just if you have questions, but the biggest thing about these is you can only sign for one person per office. So let's say there's 10 candidates for the US Senate, for example, but you can only sign one of those candidates' papers, but you can sign, any of the other offices. And then you can take any of these papers and clipboards. And then if you get like a page of signatures, if you take it to your friends and family, or you're going to a wedding, and you're like, I can get 10 signatures, then, and they have to be Wisconsin voters, obviously living here for at least 28 days. So there's certain rules, but then you just have to sign and certify, but you don't have to do like 10 signatures. But anyway, just so you know, just ask me if you're interested in taking papers. Okay. And I think, Pete, are you ready to jump in? And we got all the reports for
Yeah. let's
all
do
of
that.
our committees. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you in physical form. Who knew? I'm Pete, co-chair. I get to work and co-pilot with Elizabeth, which makes me very fortunate. And thanks for all those updates. Max, who was our DPW organizer for this region, 3-county responsibility, was wanting to be here tonight. He's been working so hard that he got himself sick. And so he's resting. Good time for that. But he wanted us just to give a little report back on the April 5th spring election. So first of all, awesome, amazing. Dunn County did a great job. You all did a great job. We should feel very proud of how April 5th went. So we had wonderful candidates. As you know, 3 candidates that we really, really like are now sitting on the Menominee Area School Board, which is, who knew? Who knew we were going to fight for school boards so hard? But thank goodness we did. So that was a clean sweep. Really appreciated all the effort to support those 3 candidates. And they just had their first meeting this week. And I know that they really appreciated the support. We also had a lot of folks just turn out to make phone calls and multiple weekends of actions, folks that knocked on doors, and that just turned up to turn out in a midterm election in the spring, which is something that's so hard to do, and you all did it, so really appreciate that. We also leaned really heavily into DPW support with the van, which allowed us to make phone calls. And the thing that Max wanted me to read specifically, I'm paraphrasing everything else, so he'd be mad, but I will read this, is that the difference between the lowest vote getting Democrat and the highest other, this is a nonpartisan, but the other side, Republican, was 472 votes. In the 4 days leading up to the election, we spoke to 412 people in the county who had not yet voted, but were persuadable. So that margin, that made a difference, making phone calls. So if you picked up the phone, even if it was one person, that made a huge difference. So just want to say thank you from Max, from myself, from the DCD and everyone for all the work that went in, and that we have to just keep going now. We know we have a little bit of a lull, but we know that there's something big coming in November. And so this is all flexing our muscles to be ready for that next round. And we want to just really thank you and welcome you back for the next round of effort. So thank you to Max. Thanks for that. We're going to do some quick updates because we have speakers here that are going to be doing some, that are going to be speaking with us. We have 3 great ones coming, 2 virtual, 1 here in person, but we have some business to attend to. So we're going to start with our secretary's report. I'm going to ask up Leanna, who's going to just give us a quick report back from our last meeting of our March meeting. So Leanna, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leanna Schreiber. I'm sitting in the corner over there taking notes for this meeting. I also took notes from last meeting, so I'll just give a high-level summary. It's also all online in our Google Drive, so you can have access to that. But last time, we heard from school board members that we elected into office, so that was great. And then also Dunn County supervisors as well, and Tom Nelson, and then Stephen Okolara we heard from. So all those notes are online, so feel free to access them.
Great, thanks, Dana. So all the minutes are publicly available. You're more than welcome to scrutinize. I guarantee that Leanna's doing a great job recording the meetings. Next up, Dan is going to give you some of the numbers. Maybe Dan, if you also want to just mention a few words about the third CD convention, because I know that was also brought up, and you maybe just want to share your update on that too. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, real quickly, our treasurer's report at the end of last month. At the end, I do a report at the beginning of each month. So this is the summary basically from what was true in April 1st. But I have an update for today. So we had last month, we spent $3,762.31. We took in $2,786.69. That's $1,000 difference is not a problem. We had a lot of expenses starting up the office here. We paid for several months in advance on electricity, rent, and everything. So that was okay. So right now, at this point, very minute, as of when I checked on the bank here today, we have $7,273 in our checking account. We have $10,935 in our savings account, and the Young Dems are plugging along at $157.86, and they gain a penny every month. So we have $1,000 or $16,000, $371.30. Our long-term goal is to basically, we're going to spend a lot of money this year because of the election. But we still want to come out at the end of the year with about, $15,000 in the bank because we want to build up to $30,000 going into the 24 election season. So that's our goal. And so we'll be working, not only to go gun-ho this year, but also the build up for that 24 election season. So, all right, Margaret couldn't be here. She had to run to Rochester with Sandy. So she gave me the minutes from the third CD. Margaret is a member of the third CD board. So she's a good representative for us. And it basically comes down, there was financial reports and all the other good thing. There were speeches by elected officials, Ron Kine, Ben Winkler from this DPW, and Tony Evers even got in. We had candidate videos from Rebecca Cook, Deb McGrath, Mark Newman, Brad Paff. We had that was third CD videos. And we had U.S. candidate videos from a whole bunch of people. And then we had even Attorney General Josh Call and got in there, and Lieutenant Governor candidates Ben Bowen, Ben Hur, and Sarah Rodriguez. So it was a lot of people trying to get good attention. And then treasurer candidates also, and Secretary of State. Going down to the big part, we can send in the third CD. Dunn County sent resolutions to the third CD convention, resolutions that will eventually go on the state plank, hopefully. Okay, the third CD convention narrowed those resolutions down to 10 that are sent into for consideration at the state convention. And so the resolutions, real quickly, I'll just briefly say what they were. The 10 that got there. So resolutions concerning justice, human concerns, and democracy. A resolution in support of LGBTQ people. Resolution in support of Wisconsin on healthcare. Resolution to abolish the Electoral College, resolution to retain the Bipartisan Election Commission, resolution to support the Voting Rights Act, resolution to support the Abortion Rights Preservation Act. Okay, and then resolutions concerning education, labor, and economics. There is a resolution in support of $15 minimum wage, a resolution ensuring the well-being of Social Security, a resolution advocating progressive tax system, and resolutions concerning agriculture and economics or environment, resolution supporting of combating climate change crisis and pursuing environmental justice. And those are the 10 resolutions that the third CD will be sending to the state convention. And I'll put this in the back. Yeah, I got 20 copies here. So, and that's it for me. You have any questions? Okay. And, you know, we have to send in a report to the state finance commission periodically. And so far we've come through with flying colors on our reports. Everything, you know, came out to the penny. So nobody's embezzling any money, at least not that they know of.
Can we have a round of applause for treasurers? Yeah. Dan and Margaret do a great job tag teaming our finances, and we're very grateful for their timely and to the penny accounting, including for the young Dems, which I think when I was a young college student, I might have had the same in my bank account as well. So that sounds accurate. We're next going to welcome up our volunteer coordinator. We have Dave, who's going to give us an update on all of the things that Dave does to keep this office running and many other things. So Dave. Including cleaning the windows.
Hello, everybody. I need to thank some people, but I don't know who to thank, so I'll thank everybody who's donated stuff. Things show up and I don't know who to thank, so thank you to whoever made donations. I'm going to keep it quick. The two things for May are the May schedule for manning the office. There's some openings. They're 3 hours apiece, and we are going to be closed on the 27th through the 30th. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. 4 days, not 3 days, for Memorial Day weekend. So if you want to sign up, if you can volunteer for that, we've got some open shifts. The other thing that's going to be really ramping up here soon is the June 4 fundraiser. We need upwards of 26 people to help with that. We're going to do our own food this year. I'm going to be the primary person for that, taking care of that. So if you want to hear a bunch of food jokes during that day, come along with me. We're going to have simple food, but it's going to be more money in our pocket because we're going to sell it at a profit, right? Other things we need are someone to man the donation table, candidate liaisons, someone to help with the 50-50 raffle, the silent auction, which is well underway. We got 3 people already working on that. Beverage sales, someone to sell beverage, a photographer. We really need a photographer. If you like to take pictures, you're our person. We need people to be greeters, set up, and take down. So please consider one of them. If everybody in our membership did one of those extra things, we'd be covered. We'd be done. So if you can volunteer, that's the expectation, okay? My expectation. I call it the DCDC, the Dunn County Democrat Challenge. Everybody volunteer for one thing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Volunteer coordination is an art and a science. So thank you, Dave. Really appreciate that. I'm going to do a quick membership report. Dick Tyson, I don't think is here with us. He was a little bit under the weather. So I'm going to step up and pitch it here. Membership is another one of those tireless activities. Staying in touch with everybody that is a member, letting them know when they need to renew their membership, how to stay involved, and also just making sure it feels personal. It doesn't feel like just something you pay money to and then never have contact. So the membership committee has been doing a wonderful job making phone calls on a regular basis. Leanna, as our secretary, has been working with them to clean up our database, which is another thankless act, but a critical one. So we're very fortunate to have her skill set here. The most important thing is that we're discontinuing our individual membership as the DCD. We have been collecting it, and the state's been collecting it, and it's really complicated to like keep all those things organized. And so we've come up with a more streamlined system that we're figuring out with them and trying to figure out how to make it easier for for everybody, because ultimately a membership with us is a membership with them and vice versa. So you won't really notice any difference. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it still gets you the same thing. We're just kind of making it a little bit more streamlined. Yeah.
Just one comment. If you prefer to hand me a check, that's still quite all right. But the way I process it will be different. But that's all right. If you prefer not to go online or do anything like that and just want to give me a check, that's very good. Okay.
Old school works. Still effective. While I'm up here, I'm going to go ahead and also do a quick update for our communications so that we don't have to pass the mic too many more times. I am the communications liaison. And so just a quick update on what we're doing. We're working hard to get a fundraising letter out, which I'm not going to steal Ken's thunder here on that. We're working hard to get some signage on the front of this building, this beautiful building that we have. And we're also working quite hard to just promote everything that's coming. I think Elizabeth mentioned pretty much from here through the fair, we're going to hit you with opportunities to come together, to have a party, to commit some time and energy every single month. And we're trying to spread the word on those things. So our communications committee is working on that pretty tirelessly. We also keep the website up. Diana Witcher, who's not here, should get applause because maintaining all of my requests for our website is probably annoying, and she does it well. And we also have a lot of social media. So when in doubt, if you're on Facebook, check Facebook. That's where we're putting stuff more often than not. And then also putting it in the newsletter. So when you see the newsletter come, open it because it has a lot of good stuff inside. I'm going to pause there and I'm going to turn it over to our outreach committee, which I think maybe Dan, you might be. Oh, no. Yes. Kay, please.
Just so you know, Sarah is here.
Oh, great.
Hi, I'm Kamo Nurseth from the Outreach Committee. And I will just give you a brief summary. Our meeting is pretty interesting and quite long. We're going to be supporting the June 4th fundraiser. And our committee is putting together donation of environmentally friendly items for a basket. That we did that last year too. And so far for the silent auction, so far we have dryer balls, laundry sheets, bamboo toilet paper, a book called Green Abode that shares ideas on using certain things around the house, and a gift certificate to the food co-op. So we think that's a good start. We discuss postcards. We really think it's important. I think postcards did a lot to get the school board members elected. And I think that with all that we've got going on, CD3, and to get rid of Ron Johnson, we really have to get out people to get out the vote. And we discussed the cafe crawl. Now, this is Jane Peterson's baby, but she will probably be at most of them. But what we're going to do, you've got the dates. We're going to be at 3 different cafes in the area, and we invite you to join us if you want to volunteer to come. What we do is we sit there with our big sign and we say, if you want to come up and talk to us, you can get registered for a gift certificate for this cafe. And the cafes have been very welcoming, and so we just are going to spend like an hour and a half or so. And then we discussed billboards, and we're doing a lot of research into that. Discuss t-shirts. They're here. I bought the first one, Mike bought the second, and we will show those at the end of the meeting. And Pete ordered those, and thank you. And then Dad shared other issues that we should be addressing. Water, fund the sheriff's department and the county board. And the communications committee should address these issues. Also, he's on social media and in letters to the editor. So we're looking for that. And then the question was how to access state funds. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Kay. Outreach. Let's move on to fundraising. So Ken, I'm going to bring you up and give a quick update.
Hey, everybody, how nice to be in a room of like-minded people. I'm feeling happily blue here, so great to see you all. No real big news. It's already been previewed. We have a fundraising letter that will go out May 1st to all of our memberships. And, thank you so much for all of the support that you guys have given. And it's a continuous process. As you can begin to see, we have a healthy organization, which is active, which is great. And the funds help keep us healthy, and so we appreciate that. We're going to have a really fun event on June 4th. We had one last October, and we're doing it bigger and better. On June 4th, we're doing a progressive fundraiser in conjunction with St. Croix County and Black River and Jackson County. So for the candidates, they're going to have breakfast in Hudson, lunch 11 to 2 in Menominee, and dinner in Black River Falls. And we're doing this to make us attractive to big name candidates. And, we can't guarantee anything, but it looks quite possible that Lieutenant Governor Barnes and Governor Evers may be attending our events. So, and certainly many other candidates. So we'll have a silent auction there. We have some really interesting collectible items that have come up, Pete. I want to talk to you about. We want to promote them in advance on social media. And just thank you for your support, and join us on June 4th.
Yeah, who doesn't like a party? It's a lot of work, so you should have some fun at the same time. We have one last update here, and then we're going to get under our speakers. We are running a little bit behind schedule, so I'm going to welcome up Andy, who's going to give you a quick update on Western Wisconsin Votes. And as he comes up, Western Wisconsin Votes is incredible. It's a great asset that we have that does amazing deep canvas work, and Andy's been working to keep that moving.
So in April, we had planned to have a trivia night, and instead we had a happy hour, and it was well attended. Yay. And until the fair, there's not going to be more training or action with Western Wisconsin Votes. And after the fair, we're going to do a training and get people excited and interested in learning about deep canvassing. And then we'll have a push going towards the election. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. I think Andy won for the shortest update. Again, Western Wisconsin Votes, it's a great thing to be involved. Deep canvassing changes the way that people show up on election days. And it matters. It's conversational. It's relational. It's really the heart of democracy. And so we're really lucky to have that expertise in-house. That was the business portion. Thank you. That was a lot to digest. The most important thing is at the top of the agenda. Those are all the dates bolded, what's happening. Those are invitations personal to you to participate. So thank you for that. We need to get on to our speakers. We have three great speakers, two that are running for U.S. Senate who are going to join us. And then we're fortunate to have Jeff Smith, our Wisconsin State Senator, joining us in person. And so that should be a nice opportunity to hear from Jeff. So we're going to start with Sarah Godlewski, who is going to be joining you on this monitor here. So mostly going to be hearing her, but those up front will be able to see. And so Sarah is running for U.S. Senate and the primary coming up this August, ultimately to take on he who shall not be named. So we're happy to welcome Sarah back. Thanks for being patient as we're running a little bit behind, Sarah. I'll let you take it away and speak with the crowd that you've got here.
Okay, great. Well, hello, Dunn County. I just want to say I wish I could be there in person because it looks like you guys have an amazing office and a great setup. And every time I can come back home to Western Wisconsin, count me in. So Ken, when you were listing the names of your events that you plan on doing, I always love to be there. You guys did a great job in October, and I know the event in June, I'm sure, is going to be just as great, if not better. And before I even start, I just want to first give a shout out to your newly elected school board members. When I was in Dunn County, actually in Menominee with Governor Evers, we were kicking off our home ownership work. It's called the Help for Homeowners program. I met with Rachel and learned all about RAD and what you all were doing with this important school board race. And I traveled actually across the state to 7 different locations. We were outreach and campaigning and getting out the vote for local elections this spring because we know it's all hands on deck to win these important elections. So congratulations to RAD and their work and serving. But so I just thought I would take a little bit of time to share with you who I am, what I've done, and why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm actually a proud fifth generation Wisconsinite, Western Wisconsin, from particular. My parents are two public school teachers. They recently retired in Eau Claire. And something that they always would talk about is when you see something wrong, you've got to stand up and do something about it. And that's how I've tried to live my entire life. I actually started my career in national security, where you can imagine a 20-something-year-old from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, walking into the Pentagon. I think a lot of them said, well, we'll give her a few weeks. We'll give her a few months. I was there for almost 8 years. I worked from everybody from the Assistant Secretary of the Army and worked my way up to the Undersecretary of Defense. And we were saving money and one of the largest bureaucracies in the world, but also saving lives. And I love that work, but I'm a fifth generation Wisconsinite, and my way actually coming back home, believe it or not, was through finance and providing access to capital for women, small businesses, communities of color. And in doing that work, as some of you know, Wisconsin is 50th for startups. And the amount of capital that Silicon Valley gets in California in one day is what Wisconsin was getting in an entire year. And I thought that was wrong. We're a Main Street economy, not a Wall Street economy. And so I thought, well, I'll reach out to the state treasurer and work with them to figure out how they can use their investment authority to make a difference with our Main Street. And as some of you know, I called the office and never got a response because Scott Walker, that guy, was trying to get rid of the office. And I thought that was wrong because we need a chief financial officer. And despite everybody telling me there was nothing that we could do to save the state treasurer's office, I led the constitutional amendment to save the office. Shout out to your senator, Senator Smith, who was also a part of that effort. And together we stopped Scott Walker's power grab with 62% of the vote, which, as many of you know, is a landslide victory in Wisconsin. And then the question was, well, who's going to run for it? And for me, I actually reached out to my grandma in Polk County, who was part of the first group of women to serve in World War II. She was a Navy wife. And I said, Grandma, do you have any advice for me? And she goes, Sarah, no one's going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you to do this. So I think that you should ask for forgiveness, not for permission, and just get in this race. And that's exactly what I did. As the political nobody from Eau Claire, I stepped up and ran for this statewide office, traveled the state talking about what the state treasurer should be doing for the people of Wisconsin. And I am proud to say that in 2018, I actually flipped more Trump counties and took more of the vote share than the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, including flipping Ron Johnson's own county of Winnebago County. So what was it like being state treasurer? Well, I wish I could make this story up, but there were wires that were hanging down from the ceiling. They turned off my Wi-Fi and they gave me a pay-as-you-go flip phone as a way to communicate with constituents. And so it was clear they wanted to do whatever they could to make sure that this office did not succeed for the people of Wisconsin. But I wasn't going to let them do that. One of my first actions when I was elected was overturning a Republican gag order on climate change. And then we started investing in renewable energy projects for our community across the state. Or at the height of the pandemic, when 1.2 million Wisconsinites couldn't pay their bills or were underemployed and unemployed, we started a home ownership program, a prevention fund to keep people in their homes. I also helped finance over 300 communities during the pandemic. And I called our school teachers, and when they told me that they didn't have the resources they need to work successfully remotely, we provided a special distribution for our schools to buy hotspots and e-learning books. And I'm doing all of this work by being Wisconsin scrappy. And then I'm watching Ron Johnson take a private plane from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and he's getting on the Senate floor saying Wisconsinites don't need any help. And I'm like, is this guy nuts? Because if he actually talked to Wisconsinites, he would know that they're hurting. And then we saw what happened on January 6th, and it was not a peaceful protest. It was a violent insurrection. And as a fifth generation Wisconsinite, I'm like, I just can't sit on the sidelines and watch this. And I got into this race. And look, I feel like as a working mom, I couldn't be more different than Ron Johnson. We know that things like affordable childcare, accessible and affordable senior care, paid family leave continue to be political footballs for the US Senate. Why? Because I believe we don't have enough working moms at that US Senate table. And I want to change that. Or you look at, climate change. Ron Johnson calls climate change BS. But we have seen whether it's PFAS, these forever chemicals that are poisoning our waters and our Great Lakes, to 80% of our energy is brown energy and only 20% is green energy. We have a real opportunity to capitalize on this and be a leader when it comes to the clean energy economy. Look, we know rural Wisconsin is a great place to live and raise a family, but it requires us to bring opportunity there. And we need everything from not just broadband expansion, but we've got to make sure that we've got good paying jobs. We've got to make sure that we are addressing healthcare when a lot of our rural counties, as many of you know, just don't have the doctors that folks need. And they'll say, well, just do telemedicine. And you're like, with what broadband? To our farming community. I mean, we have been number one in farm bankruptcies for 3 years in a row. And Wisconsin does not have a U.S. representative on the Ag Committee. Not on the House side or on the Senate side. My first request would be to serve on the Ag Committee because we need a voice at that ag table. And with the Farm Bill up in 2023, we have a real opportunity to make sure that Wisconsin family farms are getting the resources they need, and we can do it in a sustainable way. So look, when I'm traveling the state and people are talking to me, they're like, I know, Sarah, at the end of the day, I'm just sick of the conspiracy theories. And I want someone who's going to focus on kitchen table issues that matter most, whether that is a democracy that works for everybody, the cost of prescription drugs and healthcare, to looking at our justice system. And so that is exactly why I'm in this race. I've gotten a record of getting things done, and I want to do the same thing in the US Senate. I will just kind of close by saying, look, like people will say to me, are you really ready for this? Sarah, running for the US Senate is hard. And I say, look, I've been underestimated my entire life. And whenever somebody tells me what I can't do, I show them what I can do. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this race, because there is too much at stake when we look at Ron Johnson and Wisconsin. So I just appreciate, Dunn County, your energy and what you are doing, because when we only win by 2 to 3 votes per precinct, it's all hands on deck. And your engagement and involvement is so important. So thank you for gathering today. Thank you for all of your work. And politics is a team sport. And I know together we can flip this seat for Wisconsin. So happy to answer any of your questions. And if you want to look at whether it's my world plan or my clean water plan or my prescription drug plan, we've got a lot of plans. You can visit sarahforwisconsin.com. Again, that's sarahforwisconsin.com. But I don't know if there's time, Pete, for questions. But again, I really appreciate all of you having me here today. And I don't know, Pete, I can't hear you guys. So I don't know if you're trying to ask me questions, or hopefully this technology is not just one way where it's just me talking all the time. That'd be awful. And I'm getting text messages that people that are watching on the live stream cannot hear you guys either. So I don't know. I'm happy to sign off and sign back in again. So I just gotta note that I'm fine and I can keep talking, but I'm not sure if there are any questions. Are we able to take questions, or we don't have that? Do we have that capability? Well, I'm not sure, so I can keep talking. So I just I'm getting a text. Um, it also says maybe the live stream is frozen. I can't hear anybody. Oh, Pete, now I can see you. I can
Sure.
see you.
Okay, Sarah.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I think you can hear me. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. So it's one or the other. I can talk and you can hear me, and then we switch and we can hear you, but we can't talk to you. So the question was, if you could speak to some of the positions that you've taken on election integrity, because that was in the news recently in terms of Wisconsin's ongoing use of public funds to scrutinize the 2020 election. And if you could speak to that particular issue, because we know it's not just Wisconsin, this is something that's happening in many states. And how do you see bringing more confidence or addressing the ongoing questioning of the 2020 election?
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, a very good question. And in fact, for those of you that are following the Gableman investigation, back in October when it was first, they extended it this first time as state treasurer, actually, I stepped up and wrote a letter to Speaker Voss and putting on my treasurer hat and said, we need transparency and accountability. And right now we don't have any of that in this investigation. And that's wrong, not only from the cost that this is uh, having on taxpayers, but also the instability that it causes. And I actually just wrote and submitted another letter today calling on Speaker Voss to stop this investigation and further to provide transparency and accountability in how he is using tax dollars with this investigation, but also having my chief financial hat on, that we know in states and in communities where there is political unrest or political uncertainty, that hurts the economy. And business leaders actually across the state have also stepped up and expressed their concern with this Gableman case. So I hear you loud and clear. Look, like, one of the reasons that I am for getting rid of the filibuster is because we have to protect democracy. And the Freedom to Vote Act, which is sitting right now in the Senate, it would be on President Biden's desk if we did not have the filibuster, because the Freedom to Vote Act does a few things. One is it ends partisan gerrymandering. And you all know how awful partisan gerrymandering is. We saw it in this state in 2018, for example, when all 5 constitutional officers were elected as Democrats, but we only took 37% of the legislature. And it's going to be even worse now that these GOP maps are going to be in place. 2, we saw the attack on voting rights here in Wisconsin, where they were kicking people off the rolls. In Milwaukee, we know that, again, the Freedom to Vote Act will stop that, to getting money out of politics. But the other kind of unknown piece of this Freedom to Vote Act is it would provide it would be systematic across the country and how we would audit the elections to make sure that it would be one standard for every state, so they couldn't do these Gableman cases again and again. And further, it protects clerks from getting attacked, which we have seen over and over again, because these are just public servants doing their job. And what I get really frustrated about is that, look, like, the way that the GOP is talking about elections, you would think that they're not used to close elections in Wisconsin. Well, the reality is that's all we know. I mean, typically people win by 20,000 votes. That's it. And so I think it's incredibly important that we get rid of the filibuster so the Senate can pass this Freedom to Vote Act, which would actually protect democracy in a way that we are seeing front and center every single day. Oh, Pete, I'm sorry. I can't hear you again.
Of the whole thing.
Pete, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
No, but we can't hear her.
Right. Yeah, we got kind of a one-way street here when it comes to communication. So maybe we'll just do one more question, if that's okay with you, Sarah. I'm going to read it out here. What do you consider the most challenging part of our state regarding campaigning and winning votes in this upcoming election?
I mean, honestly, I think one of the hardest things campaigning is that we don't have local media. One of the things that we know is that local media is really important to getting messages out, to talking about when candidates visit their communities. And we know that we win when we truly travel the state and reach out to everybody. But when media has been consolidated and there's only a few outlets that run the whole entire state, I think it's really, really challenging. Because one of the only ways that you can get out your message is through paid media. And so for me, I miss reading our weekly papers that were, whether it was in our communities across the state. And so I think that's something that we've got to look at, is we've got to make sure that people are getting their information, and that we do everything we can to continue to support our local papers, local radio stations, because I think when I look at Wisconsin, that has been something that continues. We see people, they're not getting paid, they're consolidating media, and it's hard. And so that for me is, I think, something that I continue to see over and over again.
Great. Well, I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate you joining. We got a couple questions in there. Sorry for the technical difficulties flowing with it, but we always appreciate you joining. So thank you. We wish you luck in the months to come. We're going to move on. I believe we have our next speaker on. Yes, thank you. Claps, claps. I also want to note that we also have nomination papers. So just to make sure that, as we're hearing from these candidates, referring to what Elizabeth mentioned, just make sure they do need nomination papers signed. And now is a crucial time for that. The next candidate that we have joining us is Dr. Darrell Williams, who is also joining us remotely, who is in the same race for U.S. Senate.
He's not here.
Oh, he's not here.
I thought you said he couldn't get in.
Oh, he said that he was on. So
He's not here.
okay, well, this is where I dance and I sing. Yeah, well, why don't we have another candidate that's with us? If you're ready, Dr. Bettino, to come to the mic. Impromptu opportunity here, but now would be a great time when we try to get Darrell Williams on. Yeah, sure. That sounds about right. So welcome to the mic, Dr. Jillian Bettino, who is running for treasurer.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. So I'm so excited to be here. It's so nice to be in person and to actually be able to hug another human being every now and then and to see people's smiles. So nice to be here. I wanted to come by and talk to you a little bit about my pivot in the race and what I am doing in this office. I'm so excited about it. So over the last year, I spent a lot of time going across the state and talking with folks. And very often the comment would come, how are you going to fix these problems from the federal level? And I'll give you an example. For example, education funding, only 5% of it comes from the federal government, right? 45% of it comes from the state, 45% from the district. And so that's kind of hard to affect from the federal level. I've been a long time supporter of Medicare for all, and yet that's something in a gridlocked situation like we have currently, that's going to be a big battle. It's a long time coming. How do we advocate for healthcare improvements and universal healthcare access for everyone in our state, everyone in our country? I think we need to do it on a more local level. And this is true. This conversation became the norm, whether we were talking about healthcare access or education access, or if we're talking about broadband and the price of gas and getting groceries on the table and just the daily struggles that we're all facing. And so I started realizing, wow, I think that I should be in this treasurer's race. I think I should be here. And there were two things that really grabbed me. So Treasurer Godlewski was describing, and she may have described tonight, this walking into the treasurer's office and having wires hanging from the ceiling and the flip phone and peeling paint and just really being under-resourced. Years and years ago, not that long ago, but it seemed like a long time ago, I walked into a radiology department in Guyana in South America, working with the World Health Organization. There were cats, I'm not kidding, living in the ceiling. There were human body fluids coming through the ceiling because the operating room was right above and it was leaking. We had no electricity. We did not have a CT scanner. We did not have mammography. We did not have education for physicians or for technologists or nurses. In 6 years, I took a program that was worth less than $100,000 and built it to a $2.5 million program that has trained now 18 physicians to be radiologists, has their own nursing staff, has a national breast cancer screening program, has a CT program with multiple sites, despite the fact that I had to take a 2-hour boat ride to get there. This is the kind of ingenuity and energy that I think needs to be brought to our state treasurer's office. And I felt that way after going to the National Association of State Treasurers meeting in Washington, D.C., and sitting down with other state, I say other as if I'm already there, sitting down with state treasurers who have offices with employees, 50 employees, 70 employees. We have one in the state of Wisconsin. We have one, the treasurer, and one person to support them. So, what can we do with this office? The statement was recently made to me, Republicans wanted to get rid of it. That is a very strong indicator that we better not want to get rid of it, right? We need those checks and balances. Just today, I saw the Republican opponent for this office was supported, endorsed by Pro-Life Wisconsin. He wants to prohibit abortion under any circumstances. I've had moms come in with major breast cancers in their first trimester. What kind of a choice is that? Well, it's no choice at all. It's misogynistic, it's dangerous. They are strategically infiltrating our government at every level, from our supervisors to our school board, and this treasurer's office is an example of that. We need to make sure that we not only have someone who's capable and thoughtful and hardworking, but someone who is fearless and resourceful. So what am I going to do? First of all, the job is not, it's not that much left anymore, guys. They've really stripped it down, but the things that are there are so vitally important. So working on the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, they distribute, over the past couple of years, they've distributed support for over $571 million worth of municipal projects across our state. That's huge. That has to keep happening. We need that to keep happening. They also take the interest from those loans and it goes into our common school fund, which supports our public libraries for our kids. Must keep happening. We need that to keep happening. We reunite people with their unclaimed property, and excitingly, also act as the treasurer for the Employee Trust Fund, which is the state retirement program for people who are publicly employed, of which I have some of my own retirement funding because I was employed by UW-Madison for a time. So I'm going to do that job, and I'm also going to talk a lot about it because people don't know what the treasurer is. They don't know what the treasurer does. So I'm going to talk a lot about it. I'm going to make sure people know, and then I'm going to try to get them excited. So the second pillar of this job is bringing democratic principles in action. And I'll give you an example. The program that I learned about that got me most excited is a turnkey solution called the ABLE program. Is anybody familiar with the ABLE program? So it stands for Achieve a Better Life Experience. I am the guardian of my little brother who has multiple disabilities, and he's eligible for this program, but I didn't even know it existed. So we have to elevate that. What it means is that people with disabilities and their families can put aside tax sheltered dollars for financial security for the future without risking Social Security benefits. This is huge. This is an enormous challenge, and we can expand this program to include our veterans. We always need to be remembering our veterans. So that's something that we can do right now. It's a turnkey solution. We don't even have to fight with legislature. It's already there. We just need to make sure people know about it. And we would be utilizing other states' programs. It can happen right now. I know people in Wisconsin who use it. That's one example. And then the third way to get people excited about this, and I can tell everybody's really excited in here. The third way to get people excited is to think about those progressive values that we want to bring to the table and how can we make them happen through the treasurer's office. So I'll tell you, one of them is that under Article 10 of our Constitution, nerd studying here, it says that we are responsible for providing free education that is equitable for every kid aged, anyone want to guess? 5 to 18? No, it's 4 to 20. 4 to 20. That is in our Constitution. So why are we acting like they'd be doing us a big old favor if we had universal pre-K? It's in our Constitution. We should have it now. Why are we begging for the first 2 years of public college to be free? It's in our Constitution. We should have it now. So that's something that I will be arguing for. Cannabis legislation, anyone? I believe that we need to legalize cannabis. My goodness, we are missing out on tax dollars. We are missing out on enabling our Black and Brown communities that have suffered, missing out on so much in terms of medicinal marijuana. And if we are not ready in our state banking system, it's going to be a mess. And we will be handing ammunition to Republicans to shut that down. So that's another thing that we can do. And then the third thing I'll talk about is, anybody worried about water quality in our state? Oh my gosh, everywhere I go, whether we're talking about PFAS and La Crosse and Wausau, my kids had to stop drinking out of the Wausau West water fountains until we got filters put in because we got PFAS there. So PFAS, manure, nitrites, whatever, what have you, our water quality is an issue. The fines from not respecting our water quality laws are supposed to go into the public trust funds that I will be a board member of. That means that I can insist that we hold people accountable for poisoning our waters, and I'm going to do it. So this is an important thing that I'm doing here, an important thing that you're doing here. I heard about your tremendous success. And I just want to say one more quick thing. The majority of people living in poverty in our country and in our state are women and their children. We have to elect more moms and more women to office. And they ask me, so what is another word for feminism? And the answer is common sense. That's the answer. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Bettino. Really appreciate those words and for being here. We do have Dr. Darrell Williams on, and so we're going to welcome him to do a slightly abbreviated, chat with us here. So Dr. Williams, who is running for U.S. Senator in the consideration for U.S. Senate, we welcome you to Dunn County, and we'll pass it over to you to say a few words, and then we'll take a couple questions at the end.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I really appreciate this opportunity. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I look forward to getting up that way. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Darrell Williams, and I was born in the cotton fields of Abbeville, Mississippi. That's a little small town, about 316 people. Some people say it's the last town in the nation to still pick cotton by hand. That's how I grew up. I used to pick cotton for 2 of 100. That's $2 for every 100 pounds of cotton. That's a lot of cotton. But if you got some kids that need some discipline, send them down to Abbeville, Mississippi. They can still go and get it. You know, it was really the will of my praying mother, who was trying to raise 6 kids off of $3.35 an hour, that really inspired me to rise above my circumstances and go on to college. I realized the importance of a family supporting wage. And I know that people have talked a lot about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And I agree with that. But I can tell you this here, we need more than $15 an hour. We need something like $22 to $25 an hour. I went on to Rush College, Holly Springs, Mississippi, came here to Wisconsin at Marion College and finished up my PhD at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I came here to teach, and I taught in Milwaukee Public Schools for a number of years, went on to be principal, assistant principal of several schools here in Milwaukee, and went on to be interim superintendent of schools. I was humbled to be selected as National Principal of the Year at one point. And as I told you earlier, it was difficult for my mother. So I joined the military when I was 16 years old. And I went on to do 29 years and 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I was in a bomb blast in 2015 in Afghanistan and was humbled to receive the Bronze Star Medal and also the Purple Heart. Ladies and gentlemen, when I returned, I was appointed as emergency manager by Governor Evers, who I strongly support. As emergency manager for the state of Wisconsin, we serve as the heartbeat of the COVID-19 response, and we are the lead state agency that deals with all natural and man-made disasters. I'm just going to talk to you for a few points. You know, some of the most critical issues that's important to us at this point in time: the education of our kids. What's going on inside of Ukraine and Russia at this point in time? We have got to do a better job with what we do for our veterans. One of the things that I would be working for is not only to improve the conditions of our veterans as far as homeless veterans. I want to make sure that our soldiers that we ask to go and fight across seas, that they are made whole. One thing that really bothered me and encouraged me to run for this position is several soldiers over there fighting a war, but they didn't make enough money to feed their families here back at home. Sometimes their civilian salaries were a lot more than what they were making, you know, per their rank across seas. And so you're talking about the war at home and the war abroad. Can you imagine fighting a war and you can't feed your family and their kids back here at home? Think about the child care bill that many of our families have to pay in order to go to work. We have got to do a better job and make sure that our families our veterans are made whole and that our families are able to survive. I will also fight to expand the tax benefit for veterans. Here in the state of Wisconsin, only the veterans who have 100% disability rating receives an exemption from their property taxes. I will be fighting to ensure to see that all veterans who have whatever their percentage rating is, whether it's 10%, 20%, whatever that rating is, we can give them an exemption off of their property taxes as well. We love our veterans. We say that we do it with our mouth. We have to start to show it with our action. And also we have to make sure that we expand the benefits that they are receiving for their families and also for their children. We can do a better job. Our teachers, we have got to do a better job across this state, across this nation. Our school systems are suffering. I don't care whether you're in the urban schools or in the suburban schools. They're struggling with teachers, especially in this age of COVID. Many colleges and universities across this nation, including the state of Wisconsin, have very few people who are going into teaching because we're not paying those teachers enough money, and also they can't afford to retire because they don't have the benefits that they once had. When I came here from Mississippi, I was told that whenever I retired, I would have health benefits. That's gone. That's gone. And many teachers are so far into it that they can't afford to even retire. It broke my heart as interim superintendent of schools to hear teachers who spent 35, 40 years of their life teaching our kids, and they can't afford to retire because they don't have the health benefits. We can do better by our teachers. We got to raise the salaries. We got to increase the benefits. We got to provide them with an environment in which they can learn. And those are things that I will be fighting for. We talk about broadband services. As emergency manager for the state, I can't tell you how many school superintendents and board members call me and ask if we can provide services, broadband services, especially in some of these rural areas where we have very, very little internet. We can do a better job. There's no reason in the world. Broadband is a universal civil right at this point. It's just like reading and writing. And we have to make sure that we take it seriously and put the appropriate funding to make sure that everybody, whether you're from the city, suburb, inner city, or some of these other really poor counties, we have to make sure that every child has access to broadband services. It's critically important. The racial divide. I can't sit here and tell you. You have seen many acts of civil unrest, especially in the wake of the George Floyd situation. We cannot ignore the racial divide within this country. The only way that we're going to get over that, if we're going to have to work together and we're going to have to come together, it's going to take courageous conversations. It's going to take numerous, various dialogue to make sure that we're able to address some of the issues that are before us. We have to bridge the racial divide within our country. We have to bridge it here within our state. You've heard many times people say Black Lives Matter. Well, I'm here to tell you, Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that all lives don't matter, because they do. But all lives can't matter until Black lives are a part of the all. We have to make sure that everybody. We also have to bridge the divide and rebuild the relationship between law enforcement and our communities. Let me tell you, you're looking at someone who fully supports law enforcement without question. But at the same time, we all have to realize that there's a division, there's a relationship that has to be rebuilt to make sure that all people feel safe. And as I said on the what's called the PEG board, the Police Executive Group Board, there's a realization that there's a relationship that needs to be rebuilt. In some areas, the relationships are great, but in other areas, especially in some of our urban areas, we have to make sure that we rebuild that relationship, and it's critically important. We have to make sure that our all people, especially when we're talking about, when I say all, we're talking about members of our LGBTQ community. We can't forget about our tribes. We have to make sure that everybody is included. When we're talking about equity, diversity, and inclusion within our state, equity, diversity is really just who we are. Can't do too much about that. But equity is having a seat at the table. But the belonging piece is where we really struggle. And that's where the people who are at the table's voice is actually being heard, and where action is being taken based off of their suggestions. These are not just buzzwords to me. And I hope they're not just buzzwords to you, because this is critically important. We have to make sure that we respect diversity, not only with our mouth, but we also have to show it with our action. And we have to recruit more people, and not only recruit them, we have to be able to retain people in the job field, especially in the field of education, especially when you're educating a majority of urban kids, especially here in Milwaukee. We have to make sure that we have kids see teachers who look like them, not just people in the building, engineers and paras and so forth. And all those positions are important, but they need to see teachers and administrators who look like them as well. How do we expect for them to want to be a teacher when they never see a teacher who look like them? When I went to the school district of Beloit, there was not a single African-American male in the entire school district. How are we expecting to see our kids to want to be educators when they never see anybody who looks like them? I believe in the right to bear arms. This is one of the areas that has received quite a bit of controversy. Let me just say to you this. I spent 29 years, 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. I believe in the Second Amendment. We all know that there are too many guns getting in the hands of people who don't need them. But if there's a law-abiding citizen who has the right and chooses to bear an arm, I believe that's their right to do so. And so I don't think as much work as we need to do around gun violence and so forth, we can't take away the right of those people who have the legal right to bear arms if they so choose to do so. Let me just share with you a couple of more points that I want to make with you today. The woman's right to choose. You've heard a lot of conversation about that on TV and so forth. I still believe in the woman's right to choose. I was at one event and a young lady told me, she said, "Oh, this is God's, if it's God's will." And believe me, you're talking to a Christian. And I told the lady, I said, "Ma'am," I said, if somebody rapes my 12-year-old daughter and my daughter becomes pregnant, I said, I'm not expecting my daughter to have to raise a child that and she's a child herself. And she said to me, "Well, that may be in God's plan." And I said, I don't believe the God that I serve would want a stranger to come and rape my child. And I said, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I don't believe that. The God that I serve would not want to hurt a child. And so, but in that respect, I still believe in the woman's right to choose. We need more mental health services for our kids, especially in the wake of this pandemic. We need more for our soldiers, and we need more just for our communities, period. We've seen a tremendous increase in gun violence within many neighborhoods. And we have to make sure that we have the appropriate resources in place to address those particular needs. Ladies and gentlemen, this race, this is not an Eddie Murphy movie where you're just voting for the person who has the most money or the person with the name that you know. This is position about who's the best qualified and who has experience in the areas that's most critical to us at this point in time. I ask you this question. In Washington, D.C., in this U.S. Senate seat, when those conversations are taking place in the boardroom and on the golf course about the education of our kids, don't you want somebody at the table with 26 years of educational experience who's been a teacher, assistant principal, interim superintendent of school, national principal of the year at the table, somebody with some knowledge, skills, and backgrounds in that area? When we're talking about, especially in the wake of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, when we're talking about what's best for our veterans, how to best allocate funding, the resources that we need to best address our veterans and their families, don't you think it is important that you have somebody with 29 years of military experience, who served in 2 war zones, who can speak that language, who knows something about what we're talking about at that point? When we're talking about how we bounce back after COVID-19, don't you think you would need somebody at the table who served as the administrator of Wisconsin Emergency Management and at the heartbeat of the COVID-19 response, appointed by our very own Governor Evers, who we want back in the governor position, and someone who's worked with people all across this state to get us to get shots in the arms and to get us safely back? When we're talking about rebuilding the relationship within our law enforcement community, don't you think you need somebody who has sat and worked with law enforcement across this state, and work with our law enforcement, work with our firefighters, work with the FBI, work with every branch of law enforcement within this community to help maintain the safety and security of all people? That is important. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no other candidate that's running in this race with the knowledge, skills, and background in the areas that's most critical to us at this point in time besides myself. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I encourage you to look at our website at williamsworksforwisconsin.com. And I truly want you to think about the fact that this is not about Ron Johnson. This is about you. This is about what you value in a candidate. Everywhere that I go, people ask me, Dr. Williams, how much money do you have? Let me just share with you. It's not about how much money I have. It's about what you value in a candidate. If you value somebody with knowledge, skills, and background in the areas that's critical to us, I ask for your support, and ultimately, I ask for your vote. Thank you. And I answer questions at this time. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Community here with us. Wisconsin State Senator Jeff Smith is here, a known face. And Jeff, we'd like to welcome you up to the front here to round us out with a few minutes of your words and to help us focus our efforts for the coming year. So Jeff, take it away.
To round it out, you got me, hey? Aren't you lucky, hey? So, Jillian, thanks for being here. I caught the end of what you were saying, and I think that's all I need to say. You stand for some great important things, and for the state of Wisconsin, and I think you probably know I have personal experience with that office, as my daughter was that one person with the state treasurer, Sarah Godlewski. And it's true, that office was bare, wires hanging from the ceiling, or everything that you just said. Because the Republicans don't believe in good government. The Republicans don't believe in governing at all. They have been trained over the last 40 years to shrink government so it can go down that bathtub drain. That government is the problem, not the solution. The Republicans, but they'll continue to want the power to win those offices, but they don't believe in governing. It's only about winning, only about holding power. Gerrymandering demonstrates that regularly, right? And so I want to talk to you about that a little bit, because I know there's a lot of air let out of the balloon when the state Supreme Court reversed themselves and took the maps that the Republican legislature recommended. Absolutely, those maps are the most politically gerrymandered maps in history. Absolutely. But I don't want you to lose hope, because there is hope. Trouble is, of course, this is the maps we have. They worked that so well that the state Supreme Court, working hand in hand with the Republicans, that they did not approve those or release that publicly until the end of the day of the first day we're supposed to collect signatures. So there's no time left. They have argued there's no time left to do anything about it. I mean, seriously, this state Supreme Court, this is not the Republicans' map. This is the state Supreme Court map. From here on, this is the court's gerrymandered map. They need to live with it. They need to retire with it. This is their legacy. But there are cases still pending in federal court that had been put aside for that moment when the state Supreme Court made a decision. So Law Forward, for instance, is still going to resurrect those and ask the federal courts to revisit those cases now, but it will take into next year for those cases to work their way through. So there's hope. We have to, but that means we have to show up this year, because this year, the Republicans are using the worst tactics we've ever seen. We've seen some terrible tactics out there in the past of drumming up fear in people to get their base out to vote. But there's nothing worse than actually trying to destroy democracy for the sake of winning. And that's what we have happening right now at all levels. So let me tell you this, and this may sound self-serving, but it's not. This is not about Jeff Smith running for the 31st Senate District. This is not about the 31st Senate District. But I happen to be one of the top 2 targets of the Republicans in the state Senate, in the state legislature, because they only need to win one more seat to be able to override the governor's veto. And that's their goal. They may not win the governor's seat, and trust me, the way this is going right now, it looks like Governor Evers is going to, look pretty good compared to those candidates that are running. But they can still take that veto power away by winning one more seat. Now, I represent 5 towns in the county of Dunn. Steve's probably the only person in the room that actually is in my district, right? But you all are in the District of Wisconsin. We are all responsible for stopping the Republicans, for grabbing all the power that they want to have to do all the awful things that they have proposed. The governor has just released his latest vetoes, which has now officially made him the veto governor of history. No governor has vetoed more bills in one session than Governor Evers in the history of Wisconsin. And there's a reason for that, an obvious reason for that. If you look just at the bills that were passed in the last couple of weeks for education, or I should say against education, that is a precursor of what the Republican Party will do if they win these seats, or if they were to take me out, for instance, and be able to override vetoes. The final nail in the coffin of public education. They want to go backwards. And one bill, I will just tell you one bill. I know you know about the bills, the voucher in every backpack, just destroy Milwaukee public school system. But a bill that's riding under the radar is called micro schools. It makes me smile because it's so going back to the 1930s. They want schools to be start with homeschooling, but they want it to be in someone's home where one person, not licensed, will be able to take in the whole neighborhood of kids into their house and teach them. One-room schoolhouses. This is the Make America Great Again, going back to the 30s. One-room schoolhouses. This is what they want to take us back to. We have our job ahead of us. All of us do. We have to hold this seat that I hold, and that means in Dunn County, you only have, well, I shouldn't say only, because you have, I think, one town in the 25th, which is the other seat that they're trying to grab. But most of it is the 10th Senate District, which is not on the ballot this year. This is the year you can all work with us to hold this 31st Senate District and make sure they do not get that veto override power. That's what I ask you to do for me, for us, for the state of Wisconsin. We have to do it. It's up to us. We're holding our ground until the courts come to senses about gerrymandering, right? Maybe it'll take another decade. I don't know. Let's hope not. but we're going to fight to the end. I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to do that. You know, I always think about the young man who stood in front of those tanks in the 80s in Tiananmen Square. I'm ready to do that. I hope you are too. So thank you for running, Jillian, because we need that strong position in the state treasurer's office. We need the Secretary of State, which is what they're going after. They never cared about that before, but they think they're going to change the rules to steal elections. We need up and down the ballot to win elections for Democrats. We've never in our lifetime had such an urgent need to do that. So thank you all for opening this office, being publicly a face of the Democratic Party in Menominee and Dunn County. And let's make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith. Really appreciate you being here, and really appreciate your leadership. So thank you again. And just to reiterate here, as we close up, again, we're going to say it over and over again, nomination papers. This is the time that signatures are needed for folks to get on the ballot. So please, if you are in their districts, make sure you sign. They are all on a back table there. They do have to be witnessed, so we need to make sure that happens. And again, you can only sign for one candidate in a single race. So please, please, please take the time to make those signatures. I want to just thank you all for bearing with us. This is our first in-person meeting, so congratulations. We did it. It's a little awkward at moments, but we just roll with it because that's what we do. So a couple reminders before we go, and we are going to do this door prize. Couple things. I mentioned nomination papers. The other thing that is really crucial is for you to remember that the next most important date in your calendar is this coming Monday. Right here from 5 to 6:30 is an open house. We're going to have almost all of the Democratic candidates for the 3rd Congressional District here in person. We're not doing screens. We're doing in person. We're going to have food. We're going to have an opportunity to socialize, hear from those candidates, really get things amped up. And then we're going to walk over together to Stout. And we're going to be at that nonpartisan forum together to support those candidates and to really show up for the Democrats and to support the students at Stout that are putting a forum together. We are choosing to follow their leadership, to listen to their questions, and to really have them in the spotlight as the moderators and inviting those candidates, because we need that participation on campus. So please show up here for the open house, 5 to 6:30, and then definitely 7 to 9 Harvey Hall next Monday, May 2nd. So want to just remind you all of that. We also have t-shirts that just arrived today. We are asking for suggested donations of $20-ish. They are beautiful shirts. Maybe we can hold one up or both up if that's possible. There's one. I'll give them back, I swear. So we have lovely gray. Yeah, our new logo, beautiful unity with the community. So bringing folks together. And if you'd prefer, you can also sport the yellow, our official colors that are coming through here with our new logo. So again, suggested donation. If you want to pick one up, come see me, come see Dave, wherever Dave is there. We can get you sorted out. We'll also have these at the open house. So thank you for anyone who would like to make those donations. Last but not least, and then I seriously will stop talking, is the door prize. So thank you for those that filled out any yellow slips that have not gone into the magic pitcher. All right. Okay, so we'll do one door prize. This is to support, the reason we do this, one, it's a bribe. So let's just be honest. And bribes work. And the second thing is it's an opportunity for us to support the local businesses here in Dunn County. We think it's really important to put our dollars back into our local businesses. We know they've had a hard time. They are having a hard time. So as much as we can get people in their doors, this is a small way, is just to do door prizes. It's a small gift. So tonight we have $25 for Next Door, Marion's Legacy. If you haven't had their truffles, Himalayan sea salt for the win. And our winner tonight is Corinne. I see you back there. So congratulations, Corinne. We got a gift card for you. Thank you. And thank you for being here. This is a wonderful thing to see. Hopefully your heart feels full. Hopefully you heard Jeff's words that it's time to stand up and support him, people like him and others that are in the race. Dr. Pacino, thank you for your leadership and for all that joined us here virtually as well. Thank you. We're going to be asking for your support going forward. We really appreciate it. So feel free to stick around. There's cookies, there's lemonade. We're not going to kick you out unless it's like 2 a.m. and bar closed, and then we're going to make you go home. But thank you for being here.
Thank you.